we're prioritizing you, our valued customers who have been with us through every milestone, every moment. That's why we're putting our money where your loyalty is. Flow customers claim up to $400 in rewards for smartphones, groceries, and more when you add mobile to your current internet plan. Because loyalty isn't a one-way street. At Flow, loyalty flows both ways.
Here's a fun fact. In just 29 seconds, you can say goodbye to paper bills forever. Seriously, in 29 seconds. That's less time than this ad. Head over to discoverflow.co or visit us in-store and update your contact information now. By October 1st, your bills will be digital, easy to access, secure, and hassle-free. So what are you waiting for? This ad still has 2 seconds left, and you could have already gone paperless.
Tuesday, the 29th day in the month of April. Make way for the month of May. And May brings with it a lot. One of the big events in May is a tech exposition in Dominica, put on by the NTRC, the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission. It's a huge exposition, and the plan is for it to become even bigger. But how do we make it bigger? Maybe we have to embrace it more, see it as ours, recognize the creativity and the talent of our young people. Not just young people, but a lot of young people are involved in this. Schools are being targeted. And there's a lot from this exposition that will teach you about, the resilience of Dominicans as well. So here's an invitation to go to the Tech Expo. It's from the 8th of May, but of course we have our guests. They'll tell us more about that. That's their job, obviously. But I'm excited about this. I think it should be bigger, though. I don't know, as I said, but it has to be a national effort. We have to see this as necessary, as part of our developmental thrust. Sometimes things start small, and then a few years after they just pick up and you just wonder. So probably we'll see even bigger things. But there are big things happening at the Tech Expo, I tell you. The whole organization, the efforts to ensure that people submit and participate in an activity like this. So we're going to raise awareness about this upcoming activity. Another avenue, of course, to learn more about it. Creativity and innovation will definitely take center stage, and I really hope that many more people will take the opportunity to see for themselves what is exhibited and to really get a greater appreciation for the technical expertise, the technical know-how of our young people. And one of the main highlights of the exposition is that you can engage with the very bright minds behind this project. So let's go to Studio 2. We have guests in studio. A beautiful lady and a gentleman. Good morning. I'm going to start with the lady first. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us who you are.
My name is Melisha Tuse, and I'm an engineer at the NTRC.
An engineer at the NTRC. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Tell us who you are as well.
Hi, my name is Craig Nesty. I'm the Executive Director of the NTRC.
All right. Executive Director, NTRC, Craig Nesty. No stranger, of course, to, discussions on radio and other platforms as well. So we welcome both of you. We're going to go through the hour and look at the trade exposition. But even before we get into the, the meat of the matter, I want to know about you, engineer. Engineer, when I hear engine, tell me what I should think about in your case at the NTRC.
Okay.
What your job entails, how you studied, where you studied and things like that.
Okay, sure. So I am specifically a telecommunications engineer. My job is to basically investigate signal interference from our radio broadcasters such as DBS and the other radio stations. Um, we also ensure that, sorry, I lost my train of thought. We also ensure that, you know, all licensees are compliant with the terms of their licenses. That includes the internet service providers as well, and ham operators. And another aspect of my function at the NTRC is to manage the National Internet Exchange Point.
That's a huge role that you have.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Craig Nesty, I'm really pleased with what I just heard from Miss Tuse, a young person again, you know, and really blazing the trail where this is concerned as an engineer. I'm sure you too, Craig Nesty, relatively young yourself, you know. Yes, relatively young yourself, obviously. And I'm sure, you know, for you, this is good news.
Yes, it's always good news to see young ladies in technology playing a leading role in bringing these innovative solutions to our society. Apart from working in an engineering role at the NTRC, Mel has been integral in working towards promoting technology in schools, and especially with other young women for our Girls in ICT program. She's led that program for a number of years, trying to introduce technology to young girls to ensure that she's not only blazing a path, but she's carving a way for future engineers, future young women to play an active role in the development of our country.
Interesting. So, Miss Tuse, Girls in ICT. I remember, I think it was last year, there was NTRC set up something to recognize girls in ICT, or probably there was an exposition similar to what. Anyway, you'll tell us about it, because I want to find out from you though, as far as girls in ICT, you know, what are you seeing in Dominica? What should we be proud about when you talk about, you know, young ladies, girls in in ICT?
Okay. So last year, as you mentioned, we did do an activity for Girls in ICT Day. It's usually celebrated on the third Thursday in April. So it was actually last week, Thursday. And last year, we tried to engage the primary schools in mobile app development. So we introduced some of the primary school teachers to a platform called MIT's App Inventor. And the teachers then went on to work with the students to build mobile applications, and we had about 10 to 15 submissions for that competition, and that included like a digital paper doll that you could dress. They also had games such as riddles and so on, Bible scripture verses. They were very creative with their submissions. The goal is basically to inspire young ladies in particular to pursue careers and education in STEM. What we find is that the number of women who are pursuing STEM careers pales in comparison to the number of men in that field. Even as I sit here as a female engineer myself, I really can't think of another woman, you know, that is, you know, in particular telecommunications engineer. You know, a lot of the women in this field, they would most likely take up software development or web application development and stuff like that. But I haven't met as yet anyone in my field in particular. So I kind of, well, with the help of the NTRC, I've been managing programs and outreach programs in particular to reach out to more young ladies, especially before they get to the third form in high school, where they are expected to select their subjects for CXC. So we want to introduce them to the opportunities in STEM way before they get to that point, so that they are more likely to get enticed by what they see, what opportunities there are, and the hope is that they would be most likely to select IT as one of their core subjects.
Interesting. So Craig Nesty, NTRC is well pleased though with what you all are seeing as far as girls are concerned. Obviously, she mentioned 10 to 15 submissions.
Yes.
Years from now, a few years from now, it will be more. It would be doubled, even quadrupled.
Well, that's the hope. That's the hope, because I think there are about 35 primary schools. So 50 primary schools. So 10 to 15 submissions would mean that we have a lot of work to do. Yeah. And that's one of the challenge we found within Dominica, is getting the education system to move towards a project-based curriculum is very challenging. So we're more used to copying notes from a blackboard and answering questions on a test paper, but actually taking that knowledge and imparting that knowledge into the physical world around us to build solutions that can better society is something that I think is lacking in Dominica, and I think we need to catalyze that cultural shift if we're going to see new industries pop up in the island. And so I think it's incumbent on us who are in a position to sort of stimulate that change to try and advance that.
But there are many ways, of course, that you can continue that thrust to inspire young people, young ladies in particular, to, as Ms. Tusse said, to pursue careers in STEM.
Yeah.
And
But
STEM stands for the what again?
Science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yes, I'm Craig Nesty.
But Dominica is very fortunate though, because the corporate heads of our local telcos are all women. So Cable and Wireless Flow is Sharon Jemmett, who is also an engineer in her own right, and Melissa Abbott is the head of Digicel now, and some years prior to that it was Nikima Roye. So we've at a leadership role though in telecoms in Dominica, we've been doing fairly okay, I would think. Yeah.
And we have this Miss Japier, or Miss or Mrs.
Oh yes, and Dr. Jermaine Japier
Dr.
is
Japier,
head
yes.
of Caribbean Digital Transformation Project. So at a leadership level, the women have definitely assumed the reins of some important organizations on island. That doesn't say we should stop at that. We definitely need more women in the technical realm, as Melissa is saying, but these achievements should not go unmentioned.
Is there a website? The NTRC has a website with, or anything online with information put into that, in terms of where young ladies who are interested, maybe career opportunities, or where they can study and things like that, or additional information that will help them in pursuing that goal?
I'll leave that one to Mel.
Yes, Mel, tell us. That's the plan.
That's part of our plan. The thing about it is, the Girls in ICT Day is a day designated by the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union. So, as I mentioned before, this project management of that project is not my key role. It's something I do as as a woman in the field. So it might require some more resources to have it as an ongoing thing, but we do our best every year to participate in the celebration of Girls in ICT Day. This year, unfortunately, the day landed while the students were on their Easter break, so we didn't prioritize that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, but that's good. Good news. A lot is happening. Let's go now to what is coming up. That big exposition. Where are we? Where are you now in terms of getting ready?
Well, I think it's a race to the end. There are a lot of challenges, a lot of hiccups that we need to overcome in order to bring the day to fruition. This year, we shifted the focus from more of an exhibition to a competition for the schools. The schools were indicating to us in prior tech expos. I think we had 2 or 3 before. 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, in our prior to tech expos, the schools were basically saying they put a lot of effort into it. It's not really a competition, it's just an exposition of their skills and so forth. So we sort of switch it up a bit this year. So this year there's actually a competition. So it's like your reading competition going on at DBS. It's actually a competition among all the high schools. There'll be major prizes for the winners, and the first, second, and third place participants would be awarded prizes for themselves and the schools. And the competition is based on the Micro Mouse competition, but it's a modification of that competition to sort of simplify it for high school, because Micro Mouse was normally done at the university level. So it's basically autonomous driving robot that would navigate a maze using the Arduino microcontroller, sonar sensors, infrared sensors, motors, and some C code in order to navigate a maze that the students would not be aware of prior to the competition. So their robot should be designed sufficiently using whatever algorithm they choose to navigate this maze from start to finish, and the team that does this the quickest will be announced the winner.
Wow. Okay, so let's break that down a little. I mean, we need the technical terms, obviously. We too have to learn them, eh? But you mentioned an autonomous robot and some other terms that you mentioned, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what is he saying? But it's good that even a lot of young people understand this. For them, that is like, easy. But just break it down for someone who's listening who's not sure what exactly, or maybe give an example so they can form a picture in their, in their mind.
Autonomous just means it's operating on its own accord. So the students are not controlling the mechanical robot once they put it down on the maze. So it by itself, based on the programming that they've uploaded into the computer chip of the robot, that robot basically will navigate the maze by itself. There'll be no more intervention from the students once the robot has been put into the maze, right? So that's why we say it's autonomous. And it's a precursor to a lot of things in technology right now. Like I was watching something on the weekend called an ADI, autonomous drone insect, where they were designing small little insects to fly by themselves to pollinate plants and so forth, right? To stimulate agricultural production. And then you have self-driving cars. That's another autonomous scenario where you have cars that just drives through cities. So the kids are getting a practical experience about building an autonomous device that will navigate a maze. So they would have to take a number of the concepts that they've learned in class, like, for instance, how many revolutions does a tire make for it to move 1 meter, for example? Or what's the distance that they would want the robot to stop before it hits a wall, before it turns a complete 360 degrees, for example. So you have teachers who would be teaching students angles and so forth that could be implemented in that project to solidify those concepts. So that's the aim of trying to bring project-based learning to the high schools, make it more exciting for them to learn concepts. So, and then one of the challenges we have is basically the teachers. So we need to find a way to motivate the teachers, to encourage the teachers to embrace that sort of learning, because a lot of teachers find it outside of CXC. And because it's outside of CXC, a lot of them find that it's extra work, and it's very difficult for them to do that extra work and keep up with the CXC curriculum, which is demanding in its own right. So we need to find some way to marry the two so that students can come out of high school with skills that they can actually use in this
Project-based
environment.
learning. That's interesting. So what? Tell us. In reference to the gadgets that they need. Is the NTRC provided this at the exposition, or are these things that they already have? Explain to us how that happens.
But Mel can give you a full rundown on how we
Mel, that is
worked
yes.
out the gadgets.
You're really
and
involved in
everything,
this.
'cause, Yeah.
Tell us.
Okay, so NTRC has donated all the microcontrollers and the electronic components for the students to be able to build these autonomous robots, and they, based on their individual strategies, we have had to procure some additional components so that they would be able to build it according to their plan, basically. There are a number of ways that a robot may determine, the correct path or the distance, and, how to make turns. So the students basically have to come together, decide, okay, we're going to do it this way. You could use infrared sensors, you could use ultrasonic sensors, you could use different components to build your robot, but it's up to the students to let us know, hey, I'm going to implement the use of this particular component, and we procure it on their behalf. So the how do I say it? the component, the building, the procurement of the components is, it's a worry-free process, I guess, for the students. All they have to worry about is strategizing and building, and ensuring that their robot is able to move through the maze next week, Thursday and Friday.
All right, interesting. Wow, I learned some terms here because I'm not tech savvy. Yeah, I'm writing down some terms. You told me about the microcontrollers and the electronic components and all of that. But so explain to us what this setup would be like. Will they be on, like, they'll be in booths? How will that be arranged so that people can learn, from this?
Okay.
This setup for the exposition, obviously. Is it similar to what has been done in the past 2 years, or you're going to do it differently this time around?
Okay, so we are doing it differently this time around. For the last 2 years, we've had it at the Winter Park Sports Stadium, and we found that the environment wasn't exactly conducive to.
Okay.
Yeah. So this year we've moved to the St. Alphonsus Parish Hall, and we have rented out the entire venue, both upstairs and downstairs. So the Maze Masters competition is going to be held downstairs on May 8th and 9th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on both days. We'll have the first 2 rounds on Thursday, and the final round and prize giving ceremony on Friday. And what to expect there is the maze is going to be laid out. We will have a viewing section that people can come and sit and view the competition. However, they would not be hovering over the maze. We do have screens that they can sit and watch. The schools are invited they are invited to bring their students in to view the competition as well. And in addition to that, we have a innovation station that would be going on throughout the day as well, where students can come in and learn to make an LED light or make a motor run, or just familiarize themselves with the interface for programming. So we'll also have that as an add-on to the competition. Upstairs, the venue will be the business part of the expo, We have organizations like our major ISPs, Flow and Digicel. We have Intellico, Open Solutions, PCAT Innovations. We have Jolly's Pharmacy, NBD, NCCU as well. We have Mr. Walter Greenaway. We have the mobile app creators of WePlanet on board, and Robinson and Associates. We also have a presentation component that will be going on throughout the day as well, where some of these organizations will make presentations to the public and to small business owners throughout the day. We also have a presentation from Google on how to do prompt engineering using their Gemini platform. I'm not sure if you or the public are aware that Gemini is Google's version of ChatGPT, so to speak. So they would conduct a session on how to create your prompts to use that platform. We're trying to work out the details of the scheduling for that particular session, but it will be posted on our webpage, www.ntrcdominica.dm/tech-expo.
Interesting. Oh, wow. And they'll walk you through, of course, the designs, right? They'll share insights and, they'll explain exactly what they have.
Yes.
That is one of the main attractions, right, Craig Nesty?
Well,
the fact that they can teach people who come to see the exhibition to come,
Yes. So the top floor that Mel talked about, the technologists in Dominica will be there to display the technology solutions that they have on offer. So we encourage the public to come because there are a lot of innovative solutions that are available to the public, like vehicle tracking and so forth from different vendors. The telcos will have prizes on play on this. Prices available at that event, so you may get discounts on mobile plans. You might get a free phone. The Flow and Digicel, they will come with their excitement around their merchandising and so forth. So we encourage the public to come in, and that's one of the pain points we had last year. The technologists on the island said they did not see a lot of traffic from the public coming to the event. So they went all out to show what they had on display. The artificial intelligence cameras, for example, being displayed by AI that could do facial recognition and track who's coming where and so forth. That was on display and available at very, very good pricing to the public, but not many businesses showed up to see what sort of security solutions are available. Walter Greenaway, he's making a lot of 3D carvings with his CNC machine and so forth, which is digitally programmed to give you models of whatever you want. That is also available. He does a lot of trophies and so forth and plaques and so forth for different events. So there are a number of technologies. Robinson's, for example, also provides a lot of technology services. I'm not sure if PCAT does a lot of work in the community. In a lot of different areas, from solar installations to networking to last year they had a project which they were very proud of. They could monitor the boiling lake from Roseau through long line point of sight links that would basically give the geologists in Trinidad or wherever the ability to monitor the lake in real time to see whether it was getting cold or getting hot and whatever. But so there's a lot of capacity there, and if you have problems in your industry, if you need solutions, I would encourage you to come on down to the Tech Expo and have discussions with the technologists there. They may be able to help you.
Interesting. As you mentioned, there's a lot of capacity there. But how do we get people to just go down there in droves, and see for themselves and learn, ask questions and all of that? Yeah. I think that is one of the biggest challenges that you would have faced in the past 2 years.
It is.
And there's a lot. I mean, I was looking at, some of the snippets of the exposition last year in particular, and even the year before, and I was like, wow, I was amazed that so much is happening there. So much is happening that we have missed out on. So how are you, ensuring that, you have a lot of people, even all the schools should take advantage of this?
that's what we're hoping. I think Mel has sent invitations to all of the principals to have the schools come and support the students. So we're trying to demystify technology for the kids, right?
It.
So they get to see all that, and hopefully they're inspired for next year, so we can do even more. In terms of getting the public to come on down to the Tech Expo, we're hoping with partnerships with DBS, Kyrie, Q95, Facebook platforms and so forth, we can do some more marketing to get that done. Hopefully, it'd be nice if we could have like a standard date every year, so everybody is aware that this is happening on such and such a date, and we can create the anticipation in a year in advance. Because we find that the marketing should be probably going on forever. You know what I mean? Like World Korean Music Festival, for example. You know it's coming in October, so there should be no surprise that the Tech Expo is coming sometime in May. No, we've had challenges in trying to fix a date. At one point, we wanted to tie it with the Girls in ICT,
okay,
but that date moves up and down. Now, I think we're saying after Easter, so what it does, it gives the kids an opportunity to work on the project during Easter holidays when CXC pressures maybe a little less, and the kids who are excited about robots and stuff might find that they'd be encouraged to come in 1, 2, 3 days on the holidays to work with a tutor around the project. So we're still trying to get the best date forward to have the Tech Expo, but we want it to be an annual event. We want the radio stations to be partners. I've heard your reading competition ad several times for the year, right? It'd be nice if Tech Expo, every time you hear a reading competition ad, you hear a Tech Expo ad, right? So that we can drive that awareness. And we're glad to have you on board, and we hope that we can solidify that relationship to drive more people to the Expo, right? The other thing is if we could get all the providers like Flow, Digicel, Peacock, Intellisys, and so forth to promote the Tech Expo on their own platforms as well. So that's another approach we could use to drive more interest into the Tech Expo.
Interesting. There's a lot, of course, that can be done to ensure that, we have more people involved. We want people to embrace this thing.
Yeah, and the other challenge we have, we're actually doing this on a shoestring budget, right?
I was just about to ask you in terms of...
so hopefully at some point, we're hoping that the Ministry of Education or the Ministry of Science and Technology or some other corporate giant may say, this is a good idea. Let's inject some serious funds into this and make it a wonderful experience to inspire and motivate the young kids.
Yeah, man. This drives the now and it drives the future as well.
Right.
Okay, so we are going to, it's a 2 days exposition, the 8th and the 9th of May. Of course, as you said, at the St. Alphonsus Parish Hall. How do you start off? Do you have a ceremony to start off, or you just go straight into the exposition? Give us an idea of what that first day will be like, even before people start coming in.
Okay, so we're trying to limit the long speeches.
And you really should.
Yes, but we would have very brief remarks from Mr. Nesty and most likely the Minister of Education or Telecoms on that day. And then we'll probably just, go straight into the opening of the expo.
I want to go back to the financial challenges now, Craig Nesty. Of course, this doesn't generate any money for you, no gate receipts or or things like that. So how do
not
you?
Yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No,
but
because
what do
right
you
now,
envisage though? Maybe you have to have a fund or something.
Well, not yet. But what I envisage is if we could actually bring in the technology, right? Bring in the interest that would create a tourism product around a technology expo in Dominica. That to me would be the end game. I went to an expo in Spain called Mobile World Congress. It's hosted by GSMA. GSMA is an organization with about 15 or so offices worldwide, right? And that one tech expo funds the operations for the whole year.
Wow.
But in that tech expo, they have Google, they have Facebook, they have Amazon, they have Huawei, they have Apple, they have Cisco, they have all the big players, right? And we've now pivoted to try to include the big players in our Tech Expo because they do have a market here, although it's a small market. So we've been in discussions with Google, we've been in discussions with Meta. I think Mel last year she met the satellite group, and I think NASA gave us presentation. So the idea is to continue leveraging the international market. We have not been able to connect with the diaspora as well as we would like to. I have brothers and sisters and brothers-in-law who are engineers at multi-million-dollar corporations in the States. If we could get that resource involved in Dominica Tech Expo, we could advance it even further. So the strategy definitely is to look internally, but bring people from beyond into our Tech Expo. Last year, for some surreptitious reason, there was a group from, I think it was Guadeloupe or Martinique, who interviewed us about the Tech Expo going on. So I'm also thinking that it would be nice if we could invite students from Guadeloupe and Martinique to come down to the Tech Expo and participate in the Tech Expo competitions. So we're thinking and we're trying to grow it as much as we can. We'll definitely have a post-mortem where we'll invite DBS and all the partners to try and see how best we can move and advance the program further. Because we think it's useful, we think it's necessary, we think the world is changing, and the young people need to recognize that there are so many opportunities out there, and there's so many opportunities embedded in technology that the jobs of the future may not be the jobs that I had currently or the jobs that their parents knew, right? And if they don't embrace technology and adopt the technology to meet their needs, they may be left behind. So I think it's necessary for us to encourage them to jump on board.
Well said. What about the original approach, though? You mentioned Guadeloupe and Martinique, but is there an association in the region doing similar things in terms of the exposition geared at the young people, school age, and all of that? Any partnership, any initiative, any link that you have formed with any organization? Right.
So our Tech Expo has evolved in a sort of way that wasn't the original concept. Yeah, the original concept was just for schools, and there are robotic competitions in the region. There's Lego First Robotics, I think, in the Dominican Republic. There's also a robotic competition, a robotic training in Barbados that we've sent Dominican students to. So we felt it was necessary to just bring some of those concepts home so that many more students can benefit in Dominica. In St. Kitts, there's a robotics association led by, I can't remember the doctor's name, but there's a PhD doctor who's leading a robotics program in St. Kitts. So there's a lot of interest in robotics competition, robotics training throughout the region. Earlier this year or last year, I went to a Tech Expo in St. Kitts. It was similar to what we did at the stadium. It was in an outdoor field and it lasted all day. I think one of the challenges we have is having a convention center, somewhere where we can host multiple people, right? So I think probably that should be something we should advocate for, having some sort of convention center, some sort of reception center where we can host these type of events, because we've had interest from some of the partners we've spoken to, like I can't remember his name now, but he wanted to do something called a PCC2 workshop in Dominica. That's a workshop where you bring all the spectrum engineers from around the world to discuss issues surrounding frequencies for the next World Radio Conference, right? So you need a capacity of at least 300, a venue that could hold at least 300 people, right? So that's something now we're actually looking forward to, because hopefully we should be running with that sometime next year. We have to basically decide how we're going to do this. We're inspired by Miss Roll from Sagicor, right? So because she had I think about 300 insurance agents in Dominica. So if she can do it, we can probably find a way. But we definitely lack in certain infrastructure. We need a convention center in Dominica if we're to do these things properly. And if
When you
we're
went to
see-
St. Kitts, what was the turnout like of the people?
the turnout, they were struggling like us. St.
Okay.
Kitts, they had it in a big open field, right? It was hot. They had a number of tents. They had displays from different schools and their robotics organization, the robotics club, and they had some of the entrepreneurs displaying their wares there as well. So it was pretty similar to what we did in Dominica the first time around and the second time around. What we found though was that setting was very difficult for the students. I mean, the heat was unbearable. By about 1 o'clock, people were ready to pack up, right? So you had people straddling in at 3:30, 4 o'clock to look at the Tech Expo, coming from work. So they just done work and they come in to look at the Tech Expo and be like, yeah, well, everything's done. They're like really disappointed. Yeah.
Melissa, to say, explain too what is an ideal setting for an exposition like that, because I'm here in Craig and I'm also thinking you need a washroom facilities, you need other things as well. So you need an area that is, well suited to such an event. So from a young person's standpoint, what is the ideal, setup that's required to ensure that, an exposition like that is successful?
Well, as Mr. Ness has suggested, I think a convention center is ideal. We want power to be accessible. You need an indoor space for that because I think the very first year we had wires running through the venue and it's not safe. That can pose a hazard to people passing by. I think a large indoor space will be perfect for something like that. It's cool. People can take their time and go to every booth and ask their questions. We can host the workshops and presentations right there as well in a room close by, and I think it would just be ideal. Cool, calm. And you can even do because there's a component of engineering called light engineering. So basically you could have LEDs responding to different sound, or make like an LED show as well. So that is something that would be interesting to have at our Tech Expo, but unfortunately we have it during the day when you can't see the LED lights and all that. Although this year on Friday we plan on going up to 7 o'clock to give the businesses as much time and give the public as much time to come and visit the expo and familiarize yourself with what our tech entrepreneurs have available in store.
Interesting. Tech exposition, innovation taking the main stage. That's the theme this year. Very interesting discussion, and I really want to, encourage people to go out and support this. It's not for the NTRC. It's really for us. It is really for us, as a people. I would like all the schools should partake in something like that. Have students, go in there at various intervals, and that would be so wonderful. If you have a lot of students going there, not just the high school students, primary school as well, and even the young ones, the early childhood education centers, they can be exposed to this, even at that age. I really wish that, in a few years from now, maybe even next year, we'll see much more happening. We'll have the ideal venue for such a thing, and we can only go forward and ensure that this gets bigger. But I have to say big thank you to what you all are doing, thus far, even amidst the challenges, to ensure that this works. Any other attraction apart from just what is happening with the tech exposition? Ever thought of having something a little side event or a little attraction or something? So.
Well, I know that Dr. Jean-Pierre was thinking about doing a science fair, which is sort of bigger than just the Tech Expo, because it would embrace biological sciences, physical sciences, chemistry, and so forth. So through her CARDIT, she's the project manager for the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project. So I know she had a science fair idea on her agenda as pulling something off, right? One more thing that I think I should mention that we sort of missed is we have two presentations by Google. So one is about the Gemini artificial intelligence platform, and the other is about the virtual lab for schools. So Google has developed virtual laboratories for schools where you can actually do chemistry labs, physics labs, biology labs, and some electronic labs, all virtually. So the schools no longer would find it necessary to procure volumes of chemistry, sulfuric acid, right, the pipettes and burettes and all of that. They could do all of that. They could get a similar exposure to the mixing of chemicals all virtually. They could get a similar exposure to fundamental laws of Newton mechanics virtually. So they would not necessarily have to invest in a lot of physical platforms, right? So some schools I know in Dominica, for example, like I think Orion Academy does not have a lab. But if they were to use the Google Virtual Lab, all of a sudden they would have a lab. They would have a full lab to do physics, chemistry, biology. So we want to encourage the principals and all the schools who are struggling with buying chemicals, buying pendulums for their physics labs, and just maintaining all of this capital expense to come out and see what the Google Labs can do for education in Dominica.
Interesting, promoting technology in schools. What about submission and the deadline for submission? Is it already closed in terms of who is interested in, partaking in this?
Yes, registration for the competition has already been closed with only 2 weeks left to go. We're even very fortunate that we have the last school that came in was the Wesley High School. So, at the last minute, they're going to be participating in the maze competition. But we try to engage the schools as early as September to let them know what will be expected of them for the Tech Expo, give them time to plan, strategize, and for us to procure whatever components that they need for building of their projects or their robots and so on. And also enough time to troubleshoot so that on event day, they are faced with less issues, and that their project or robot can work optimally.
Okay. Tech exposition in Dominica put on by the NTRC, the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, and it's at the St. Alphonsus Parish Hall, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. the 8th and the 9th of May. And of course, go see all what is happening there. I mean, just be just wowed by what young people are doing and what the business partners are involved in as well. There's a lot too that you can learn, and it's nice when you have the youth and you have business communities joining forces together to put on spectacular displays like that. People can even go back to look at what happened last year and what happened the year before to sort of spur you on to go to the event next week. Is it next week already? No, next week. Yeah, next week. Next week, right? The 8th and the 9th. Yes, next week, the 8th and the 9th, because this week will really start May. So, yes, so I really want to encourage people to go, and get engaged in this and, make it part of your whole, how I'd call it, make it part of you, who you are. And because really that's where we are now. That's what the world is now, And as Ms. Tuse mentioned, we have a lot of potential, especially when the young ladies are concerned, the young men as well, but I like to place focus on the young ladies, especially in things like that, technology and all of that. So yes, go out and just celebrate, the achievements of our young people and what the NTRC is doing to ensure that, we put ourselves on the right footing in Dominica. Of course, they are partners in this initiative. Is it too late to get other people to partner? Or you welcome anybody at this time, or it's just too late?
Yeah, we welcome.
Because with our flyers, we have to put out the sponsors, flyers and all that, their logos and all of that. Is it too late, or can they still, join?
They can still come on board. We have several organizations, and I don't want to miss anybody. So let me just pull up my list. Robinson and Associates, PCAT Innovations, Open Solutions, Mr. Walter Greenaway, and Do It Center are sponsoring the construction of our maze for the Maze Masters competition. Dominica Geothermal Project, We Planet, Flow, Jollies, Intellico Security Systems, Digicel, NCCU, NBD, and we also have some companies sponsoring prizes as well, like Springfield Trading, Republic Bank, Jays Limited, and HHV Whitchurch. So a big thank you to everyone who has partnered with us in one way or another to make this event a success.
Okay. Any, before we end, we have to end at 10:40. There's another program, but any your closing remarks, Craig Nesty, before we end? I know we have touched a lot, but it would be nice to hear something again from you as you encourage people to partake in this.
Yes, I think it would be nice for us to get the public to come on down in droves this time around, and probably have a feedback form from the public as to what they would like to see next year and what was the takeaways that they got from the venue, from the event that they found rather useful.
Do you have something set up for this? Like if they want to give their opinion, maybe a suggestion box or something?
I'm sure Mel will put something in place by then.
Okay.
Right? It's nice that we have the banks on board and NCCU, the credit unions on board. Some of the pain points that some of the local developers have found was integrating their mobile applications with the billing platforms of the banks so that you can have direct debit and crediting of bank accounts.
Integrating your mobile applications with the billing platforms of the banks, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, for example, if there was somebody who built an Uber type app in Dominica, but in order for you to engage the driver, you had to have cash and you had to pay the driver up front, right? And then go back to the app saying that you paid, and then the ride would come, the ride would come and so forth. But then the developer now had to chase the drivers to get paid their percentages for the ride. So all of that could be solved if the banking institutions came on board from a technology standpoint to reduce those pain points of the integration between the developers in our community and the banking institutions in our environment. So I'm not sure if that's a policy issue that needs to be put in place, if that's a regulatory issue at the ECCB, but those are some of the pain points that we need to address in order to move technology forward in our island.
But you're optimistic about the exposition this year, obviously.
I'm very optimistic about the exposition. I'm always optimistic about all the expositions because my point of view is failure is part of the learning process. I know some of my staff are like, we need to have it perfect, and we need to have it working at 100%. But to me, that's not engineering. To me, engineering is more of an iterative process. You build, you fail, you learn, you build again, right? And hopefully by the third, fourth, fifth year, we'll have refined this process sufficiently that we would have a good product for the Dominican public and encourage foreigners to actually come in and engage in our Tech Expo. One more thing though before I go, I want to just mention our roving technology consultant, Ms. Vashanti Raymond. She's done fantastic work. She's also a woman in ICT.
I've seen her always on the move, you know.
Yeah, she
so that's what she's doing.
Yeah, she's visited all of the schools, worked with all of the students, worked with all of the teachers to impart knowledge on programming and microcontrollers and so forth. And she's very dedicated to that, very passionate about that. And the Tech Expo could not happen without her. So we want to put a big thank you to Miss Raymond for all the hard work she's done.
As we end, Melisha, your closing remarks as well.
Okay, I just want to invite everyone to the Tech Expo next week, Thursday and Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Whether you're a student, a teacher, a parent, if you own a small business, it will be beneficial to you as well. We have some very interesting presentations, very interesting booths. On Mr. Nest's note regarding digital payments, Shop DM, a local app development company. They are doing a presentation on ShopPay, which is their response to, tackling that digital payment problem. And I think it would be interesting for small business owners to, find themselves at the St. Alphonsus Parish Hall next week, Friday, for that presentation. The agenda can be accessed on our webpage, www.ntrcdominica.com/tech-expo.
So when that is done, you pack up shop and you go after the 2 days. But Craig Nesty, any plan probably to maybe partner with one of the banking institutions, maybe not now, but one of the institutions, to ensure that maybe the winning project or whatever can be on display at least for a few days at a bank or somewhere that people can see it? Can that be done, or because of the gadgets that you're using, it's not possible? Or you'd have to have someone here to explain. So just tell me how that could go. Because I'm just thinking about, you have you have an exposition and you have projects like this. A lot of people would have missed it. You have partnership, of course, with some of the banks. So what if I were to go to one of the banks after the exposition, obviously, and I would see one of the big displays? That too would prompt people to, show more interest in this.
It's something Mel can look at. It's just that this year is a maze competition. So showing a robot without the maze may not have the desired impact, right? So hopefully by next year we might have the competition and a solution component that may be voted on as well, because prior years was basically just having innovative solutions, right? So we might incorporate both of them next year, depending on the appetite of the teachers and their ability to deliver on these projects. Hopefully, at the third, fourth iteration of this, the teachers would have found themselves more skilled with imparting the knowledge and using the components and so forth. So it's a growing process. It's a growing process. But what's wonderful is now you have young kids, 12, 13-year-old talking about motor controllers, motor drivers, Arduino microcontrollers, LEDs, and so forth. So the conversation is shifting, the culture is shifting, and hopefully the students we put out may be the ones who will transform and grow our economy.
All right. Okay, well, let me thank you, both of you, for coming on. I wish we had more time for another day, though. That's already next week. We'll have to see what we can push, at least a 15 minutes, whether it's on telephone or whatever, just to give us an idea as to where you are in terms of preparation for the event. So without the event, we can do something again. Maybe give you 30 minutes or 15 minutes. I would like us to do this as well, as part of DBS's, partnership on this, because this is very important. Yes. This is very, very important. And we will play a role as well. We'll come there on the day, and give people an opportunity to see as well. So there'll be other platforms, other people as well doing this, but we have a good platform too, so we can always, ensure that we play a major role in ensuring that as well. People, take more interest in this. So DBS Radio, of course, will continue to partner on this initiative. And I'm happy, of course, that you continue to do. This is the third one, and success in future endeavors. All right.
Thank you so much to DBS for partnering with us.
Thank you, Mr. Nesty.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay, so that's where we come to the end of Talking Point today. The trade exposition, the technical expo, Tech Expo 2025, put on by the NTRC, the National Telecommunications